Hi everybody, welcome to the videos section of our Launchmetrics Support Center. Today we're going to be covering how to return samples from a sendout. Hopefully at this point you would have already watched our video on how to create a sendout and more of the other topics about samples that we've also shown. This video is just going to quickly highlight how to return samples. So we want to take a look at our dashboard here. You're going to see currently what all these pie charts mean. In our inventory chart, I have 13 inventory samples. That means I have 13 samples that will show up when I click on search in my inventory of my sample manager. I have 3 deliveries that have currently been created in my system. 2 are currently open. 1 is a reservation. So I have 2 that are open loans, and then I have 1 that's been marked as a reservation. This chart speaks with this chart here. This is telling me that on my 1 reserved delivery, I have 2 samples. On my 2 open loans, I have 4 samples on loan. And I have 1 sample that's been returned on those 2 open deliveries. If I had any samples that were outstanding, that would populate here in this pie chart. Currently, I don't. Overdue, so that means that your sample is 4 weeks past the expected return date. Late means that your sample is between 1 day and 4 weeks past the expected return date, and it has not yet been returned. And missing means that you are between 1 day and 4 weeks, and your sample has not been marked as returned, but another sample on that same delivery was marked as returned. So the system, since 1 sample has already been marked as returned, but the other has not, is marking that as missing. So returning samples is going to always keep this outstanding samples chart at 0, which is what you want, obviously. So to view our sendouts that are currently, view our samples and sendouts, the best way to see that is by going to the sendout manager. So if I go to sendouts, sendout manager, this is where I can search and see all of the deliveries that I have. Now, if you are, jumping on board with the company that's been a client for a long time, and there might be hundreds and hundreds of these deliveries in here, one of the easier ways to find your delivery is always by searching for the delivery number. So I can plug that directly into my system and pull up that delivery. I also suggest if you sort the search results, if you sort that by the ship date, that's another really great way to keep things organized in terms of when things were sent. So I know I've done these examples all on the same day, so they're all going to show up here. But certainly in a real life situation system, there's going to be many deliveries, and sorting by the ship date is going to be a really quick, easy way for you to see what was the last delivery that was created. So we'll talk about how to return those samples from the open deliveries. You'll notice that in this example, this is a reservation. So when I click on the drop down, all I can do is either edit the reservation or cancel the reservation. Of course, there's a few other options there as well, but in terms of returning, I don't have the option to return anything yet because that reservation has not been processed to an open delivery. Now, if I take a look at these 2 deliveries that are marked as open, if I click on the drop downs here, you're going to see the ability to return samples from delivery. So this is one of the ways that I can return samples. I can click on this button in this drop down, and then from here I can select the sample that I want to return. I can select more than 1. I can select as many as I need. I can select all of them by clicking on that checkbox. And this is how, using these options, I can mark as returned, written off, or gifted. So I'm going to mark my sample as being returned. So that's one way. We went directly to the sendout manager and we searched and we used our options drop down and did return samples from the delivery. The other way that I can do this is I'm going to just grab the barcode number of this sample, LCM 000006. Then I can go to my return tab. I can search return samples, and from here I can plug in the barcode number. So certainly if I had my barcode scanner, I could start to scan, and that would do essentially what I just did. I copy and pasted that number, the barcode number. Then if I click on scan, that sample has now been marked successfully as being returned from LCM1. So now if I go back to my dashboard here and I refresh my page, I want us to focus on this number that says closed. So if I refresh my page, you're now going to see that there's one delivery that now has been marked as closed. So a delivery is marked as fully closed when all the samples from that delivery have been marked as returned. So on that one closed delivery, it turned out that all 3 of my samples in my samples charts belong to that closed delivery. They've all been marked as returned. So let's take a look back at this return samples tab. So again, not before I just put in the barcode number. Now I can also, if I needed to, I can put in the entire delivery number. So if I put the delivery number in, LCM3, so that's different from the barcode number, that's the actual delivery number that held all of the samples that I put on that delivery number. I can put that number in, and if I click on scan, it's going to pull up the 2 samples that are on that delivery. And from here, I can mark the sample as returned. I can do that. And lastly, you can also just click on this button that says Search on Loan Samples, and that's going to open up a window that is going to allow me to search. I can do it either by delivery number, I can search by the designer, I can search by the recipient company. If I click on Search Layout Preferences, I can add any of these available filters to help me try and find that sample that I'm looking for that's marked on loan. So if I click on search, I just have one sample left that hasn't been marked as returned. I'm going to leave that there just so you can really see that example. But I'll show you the last place where we can return samples from, and that's directly in our sample manager. So I'm going to search availability status marked on loan. So I'm looking for all my samples that I've marked out on loan. When I click on search, because I include my out to layout preference, which we've talked about in previous support center videos, the out to layout preference is really great because it lets me see exactly who my sample is out to. And it also gives me the ability to use this drop down where I can mark the sample as return, sold, written off, gifted, or returned to the vendor. Now I'm not going to quite get into what all of those means on this video here, but if you do have questions on what any of those options mean, we definitely invite you to please reach out to our support team at support@launchmetrics.com. So I'm going to use this example. I'm going to mark that sample as returned. And now I've completely returned all of the sendouts that I did have marked as returned, out on loan at the start of this video. So again, we can take a look at our dashboard. If I refresh that, you're now going to see I have 2 closed deliveries, 1 reserved, 2 samples on that 1 reserved delivery, and I have 5 total samples that have been marked as returned on 2 total closed deliveries. So to recap, we did those actions by going to this Return tab, Return Samples, and putting in our delivery number, our barcode, and clicking on Searched on Loan Samples. We also did this directly from the Sendout Manager, where we used our options drop-down to click Return Samples from Delivery. And lastly, we took a look at our Sample Manager and searching and using our Out to layout preference to mark samples as returned. Knowing how to mark samples as returned is extremely important to keeping your sample manager as accurate as possible and keeping that outstanding samples chart at 0. That's what you want always. Thanks so much for watching. Please utilize the other videos in our support center as reference and as a resource to you. Please also feel free to reach out to our support team at support@launchmetrics.com. Thanks so much for watching.